Hello and welcome everybody to another StarCraft 2 cast by Glitch. This is going to be a ZVP on Tal'Darim Altar. This is going to be game 2 of a series. In game 1 we saw a very nice little push from SLiDeR where he did almost a Zerg style of play where he got a lot of workers, got a lot of probes, chrono boosted out very early on, took a very early expansion without taking any other buildings, no tech, just straight pylon into Nexus, and was able to establish quite an early econ and keep up with the early pool gas style of mTwDIMAGA, and was able to take an early win off of mTwDIMAGA with a huge push as mTwDIMAGA tried to take a third base. So now we are going into game 2. We're going to see if SLiDeR can finish off this series, or see if mTwDIMAGA can come back from his loss in game 1. So mTwDIMAGA spawning here in the bottom left corner of Tal'Darim Altar is so far just droning. I'm actually very interested to see whether in game 2 he's going to go for an early hatchery after having seen that very economic style of play from SLiDeR, or whether he will be again going for that gas pool opening. Neither player yet throwing down any kind of tech. SLiDeR has thrown down a pylon at his natural. Could he be going for that early Nexus again? We will see, but it certainly looks like it. No gas has been thrown down. He's currently chrono boosting out a lot of probes, so it looks like he is saving up a lot of minerals here. He is up to the 200 mineral mark, so it looks like we might even be seeing again that economic style of play from SLiDeR. And mTwDIMAGA, just like in game 1, has gone for that gas pool style of play. He's not going for that economic style of play, which he really needs to if he's going to be able to go up against this super economic style of play from SLiDeR. mTwDIMAGA is really going to need to show some early aggression here if he's going to want to be able to do any kind of damage and punish SLiDeR for this early Nexus style. No scout yet though for mTwDIMAGA. I don't think, if we check out the vision of mTwDIMAGA has not sent out any kind of scout yet, so he has no idea what SLiDeR is doing, does not know that SLiDeR has yet again thrown down that really fast Nexus, is now throwing down a Forge, going for the identical build that he went for in game 1, where he's going for a very large worker count, and is now throwing down a lot of tech. Has not thrown down a second pylon, interestingly enough. He is holding at 17 probes while he gets up his Nexus, a Forge, and a Gateway, and if he does anything like he did in game 1, he's also going to throw down, yes, pylons and photon cannons to wall off his natural base, which, yes, indeed, he is doing. mTwDIMAGA now out with 4 links coming across the field, just now throwing down his natural. His natural is going to be so far behind SLiDER's, just like in game 1. So this is kind of a new style of Protoss that I'd actually be interested to see if this becomes more and more common, just because, I mean, mTwDIMAGA's build is clearly tailored to a safer style of opening, based on a standard style of Protoss play where they go for the early gateways and maybe put on a little bit of early pressure with some gateway units, either some early zealots and maybe some early stalkers. But man, this is a new style of play that does very well against mTwDIMAGA's early gas pool style of play that actually kind of punishes him just a little bit. His econ is just not as good. If we check out the Harvester tab right now, we can see that even though SLiDeR stopped producing workers for a little while, he's currently up in worker count 22 to 19, and he's still chrono boosting out more workers, and there's nothing mTwDIMAGA can do right now. mTwDIMAGA has no way of breaking this wall. All he has is Zerglings with speed. No layer up, no Roach Warren up yet. Zergling speed is now coming up, but he cannot get past this wall. This photon cannon is going to prevent any kind of early harassment by mTwDIMAGA. So this is, oh my god, my cell phone. This is, oh my god, my cell phone. Putting that on silent, and back into the game. SLiDeR now just continuing to go for that economic style of play on the production tab. We can see that he is still producing a lot of probes, and here is a deviation from game 1. We have our first deviation. SLiDeR has thrown down a Stargate, so it looks like he's going to be trying to go for some early harassment rather than that quick gateway style of play that we saw in game 1, where he just got a ton of gateways once this second base was established, and then just came up with a swell of units and hit mTwDIMAGA very quickly before mTwDIMAGA was able to really prepare for any kind of an early attack. mTwDIMAGA sending in an Overlord, has scouted the front, has seen that SLiDeR is indeed going for this same style of play, but that Stargate, I think, is just barely out of range of that Overlord. And yeah, looks like indeed that, wow, we actually have some spectators here. Interesting. So Dimaga out. That Stargate is just barely out of range. Dimaga cannot see that the Stargate is coming out. He has seen that this gateway has not yet turned into a warp gate, so he knows that he can't be doing any kind of tricky warp-ins in any suspicious locations in his base. But Dimaga's got to be wondering what SLiDER's doing right now. He has to be wondering what is going on in the base of SLiDER. He is getting up a queen. Let's see, we have 2 queens out on the field right now. Still only running on 1 gas geyser, just now throwing down that roach warren, throwing down some spore crawlers, which I think is a good choice given what he has seen. No, he's actually, well, yes, given that he has seen a Void Ray come out and kill an Overlord, he's now throwing down those Spore Crawlers. He has no kind of air response, just now getting his lair up. Looks like he is going to be getting up a 3rd Queen. His Spore Crawler is now up, so he knows that SLiDER has now gone for this Stargate style of play, Stargate economic style of play, where he's not just coming out at him with 1 base Stargate, he is actually on 2 base with a very strong economy, and coming at him now with 1 Void Ray to keep Dimaga contained as best as he can. He's going to need to be very careful about how SLiDER controls this Void Ray, though, as there are 2 queens here up that are going to be able to deny that Void Ray from doing too much damage. A 2nd Void Ray now moving across the map, though, and it looks like SLiDER is going to be pulling back with his Void Ray, pulling back to the Xel'Naga towers, denying Dimaga any kind of scouting information, and not allowing him to see what is going on the map. And yes, this other Void Ray did managed to take out that other Ling on the map, so he has no idea what exactly SLiDER is doing, and SLiDER is now throwing down a ton of gateways, just like in Game 1. A ton of gateways are now coming up, so Dimaga is going to be met with a ton of warp gate units here very shortly, and Dimaga has now thrown down his 3rd. Now this is an interesting version of Tal'Darim Altar. If you'll notice that this 3rd base is not a full 3rd base. In this version, there are only 5 mineral fields here and only 1 Vespene geyser at this 3rd. So, but, man, I can expect that we're going to be seeing some early aggression, or I guess early mid-game aggression here from SLiDER, as SLiDER's now coming in with these Void Rays, trying to do as much damage. Oh my gosh, he needs to be very careful about how he micros these Void Rays. These Void Rays are getting a ton of charge up right now, getting a lot of kills. 1 queen does fall to SLiDER's Void Rays, and he needs to pull that Void Ray back, and he does not pull that Void Ray back in time. Very nice unit placement there by SLiDER. He was trying to attack over this high ground so that those queens would not have vision on him, but this Overlord here for Dimaga did give him all the scouting and visibility that he needed to take out those Void Rays. And now this Void Ray just trying to pull back into the main of Dimaga, trying to get as much scouting information as he can before he is forced to pull out by this 1 queen. Now taking a 3rd here for SLiDER, but these warp gates are now up, as well as his extended thermal lance now coming up, and a Colossus now being chrono boosted out of this robotics facility. A lot of warp gate units now coming forward. Dimaga able to hold off that Void Ray aggression pretty well, and is now pulling up quite a good army here of Lings and Roaches. I don't know, he's going to have to be very careful though. So far he needs to throw down some kind of a Spire or a Neural Parasite to deal with these Colossus that are now coming out onto the field, because he is definitely not prepared to deal with those Colossi. He does have his Pathogen clans coming out, so it looks like we are going to be seeing an Infestor style of play from Dimaga. No Infestors yet on the field, and it looks like Dimaga is getting ready to moving out with this Ling Roach force that is now moving across the map. He's bringing a few queens with him to prepare. As far as he knows, I don't think he's actually scouted again into the base of SLiDER. No, he hasn't seen anything from that early game from SLiDER, so he's really lacking in information here. Does not know that SLiDER has now transitioned into those Colossi, is sitting on a very, very strong econ with a even on Harvester count, actually, with Dimaga right now. 67 Harvesters to 61, favoring Dimaga just slightly, but he does not know that there's just this massive Warp Gate army and not that many more Stargate units out here for SLiDER. So Dimaga, he's really going to need to be careful with this army. He has nothing to combat those Colossi, and those Colossi are going to do so well against these Lings. These Queens are just not going to be able to do the kind of damage that he's going to need them to do against these Colossi. Lots of Stalkers now up, lots of Zealots, lots of Sentries, and 2 2 Colossus. This is just a huge force here from SLiDeR. Looks like one Ling coming in to scout the army, and he has just now seen that there are tons of gateway units. One Infestor instantly goes down. These Lings trying to get in, but DIMAGA needs to pull back right away. He's losing a ton of units here. He is not in any kind of position to deal with this kind of an army from SLiDeR, and SLiDeR now moving out. One fungal growth does go down on those units, holding them back temporarily, but these queens are going to be caught out in the open, and those queens are going to be forced to go down. And DIMAGA, no, he needs to pull back. He needs to not engage this army. This is such a strong army. 3 Colossus now up on the field with a lot of gateway units, and DIMAGA is choosing to engage. A lot of Lings going in, a lot of Lings going down to all these Colossus. All the queens go down, and these Infestors are just dying quickly, and more Infestors going down. Oh my goodness, so much being damaged. So much damage being dealt here from SLiDeR to DIMAGA, and oh my god, SLiDER is coming with a massive force now. On the production tab, we can see 20 Lings coming in, but DIMAGA really just has no way of dealing with these Colossi right now. All he can do is produce Lings, which are just not going to do what he needs them to do against these Colossi. DIMAGA doing everything that he can. He's got 2 queens on the high ground, trying to push these forces back from the back as much as he can. Few roaches here on the field, but just not enough to deal with this big of a push from SLiDeR. So I think SLiDER is going to be able to take this game. Such a well-played series from SLiDER, just such a unique style of play, and I would expect to see a lot more games here from SLiDER. I'm actually interested to see a lot more of SLiDER's games. I'm going to be looking out for him in the future because, man, this was such a strong style of play. DIMAGA is not able to hold off this attack. A lot of Lings moving in here, but these Colossus just dealing massive damage, and there is the GG from DIMAGA. Holy cow, ladies and gentlemen. SLiDER managed to beat DIMAGA 2-0 in this series. That means SLiDER takes the series, and wow, just such an interesting style of play from SLiDER. Like I said, I'm going to be anxious to look for more games of him, look for more games in the future of SLiDER. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this series. If you did, please comment, please subscribe. Let me know what I can do to make these casts better for you guys. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Glitch out.